Assalamualaikum. We start the truth morphology last unit 11, development of the teeth and anomalies. Development of the dental organ as early as the second month of the fetal life, the development of the deciduous teeth may be first become evident. The transition from the earliest beginnings of the dental organ through its completion will be outlined in morphological terms. Dental lamina and bud stage. At about 6 weeks of prenatal life, an epithelial thickening occurs in the region where the teeth will form. Thickening is termed the dental lamina. Shortly after the dental lamina differentiates, 22 buds begin to appear on the dental lamina in the approximate location of the 20 primary teeth. Individual tooth buds are somewhat round or wide, and this stage is appropriately known as the bud stage. Since the cap stage, as a further development takes place, the general round form of the bud is altered. The basal portion invaginates and the structure thus formed gives the appearance of a cap, and in the faces term is the cap stage. First stage is the bud stage, second stage is cap stage. Stage uh, as the concavity in the basal area of the cap continues to deepen development of the tooth enters the bell stage. At this stage nears completion, the form of the tooth's crown can be recognized and the dentino-enamel junction is identifiable. During this time, most of the crown's dentine and enamels is laid down. During the later portion of the bell stage, the dental lamina connection with the deciduous tooth begins to break down and eventually disintegrates. As this portion of the dental lamina disappears, the bud of the subcutaneous tooth is forming from it. First is the bud stage, second cap stage, third is the bell stage, and fourth is the crown stage. Development when enamel and the dentine deposition have formed the area of the cemento-enamel junction. The bell stage is recorded as ending and the root to development stage begins. The enamel organ then proliferates a structure known as Hertwig's sheath, from which the root structure is formed. The dentine and cementum of the root are then deposited. Bud stage, cap stage, bell stage, calcification of root, formation of the root, calcification of enamel matrix, and formation of the root, and the resorption of roots at the deciduous tooth. Chronology. The chronology of initiation of tooth buds from the dental lamina occurs in 3 phases over a total time period of about 5.5 years. Deciduous nutrition development of all deciduous teeth is initiated during the first few months of fetal life. Deciduous teeth, all permanent success to the deciduous teeth begins to form in a time range between 5 fetal months for the central incisors to about 10 months after birth for the second premolars. Non-succedaneous permanent teeth, the initiation of permanent molars occurs in a time period between 4 fetal months for the first molars to approximately 5 years for the third molars. Eruption. Prior to the complete calcification of its root, the tooth normally originates eruption by pushing through the mucous membrane cover of the alveolar process and into the oral cavity. The eruption process is considered complete when the tooth contacts its opponents in the opposite jaw member. In reality, the term eruption involves two activities. Number one is the active eruption and passive eruption. Two types of the eruption. Number one is the active eruption. Active eruption is the process uh, just described from the eruption tooth's entry into the oral cavity, its contact with an antagonist in the opposite arch. And passive eruption. Passive eruption is a continuing process of adaptation of the tooth to a changing incisal and occlusal relationships after active eruption has ended. These adjustments to attritional wear and changing locations of adjacent and opposing teeth continues throughout the life of the tooth. In fact, many times when a tooth has been lost, the antagonist will superactive into the space and beyond the normal occlusal plane. When the tooth rafts are cavernous membrane like an enamel cuticle enwraps the anatomical crown. This structure, also known as Lester's membrane, is soon averted away over most of its extent. Membrane is a thin membrane of tissue, also known as reduced enamel epithelium, produced by the ameloblast that covers the tooth once it has erupted. Deciduous eruption pattern, the first deciduous teeth to emerge are the mandibular central incisor at about 6 months after birth. They are followed shortly thereafter by the mandibular lateral and maxillary central incisors. It is interesting to note that one is very several thousand infants enter the world with the tooth or teeth, most often poorly developed mandibular incisors. At approximately 2 years of age, the average child erupts the deciduous maxillary second molars and thus has the function of all the deciduous teeth. This is an appropriate time to review the eruption pattern for the deciduous dentition, which is presented in the first unit. Root completion, the root apex is funnel shaped shortly after eruption. Root formation is thus not complete until additional dentine deposition reduces the funnel shape opening on to a constricted form foramen. At age 3, root formation has ended for all deciduous teeth. The time lag between eruption and root completion for the deciduous teeth is thus about 1 year, and the development tables the time differential for permanent teeth. All the while that the child is in the deciduous dentition stage, the permanent teeth are beginning at continuing their growth process. At this time, the development charts for permanent teeth should be reviewed to verify the beginnings of the calcification and enamel completion dates. Remember that the time when the toothbud first differentiates from the dental lamina is always prior to the initiation of calcification. Normally, the sustainous toothbuds exhibit a constant relationship to the roots of the deciduous teeth they are to replace. The permanent incisor and canine buds are found in a position just lingual to the roots of their deciduous recesses while the premolars buds are located in the root furcation of the deciduous molars. Permanent molars are not sustainable, and their buds dwell from the dental lamina in the alveolar process distal to the deciduous dentation. Yet the serious stage and role of the permanent first molars by approximately 5 years of age. Growth of the mandible and maxilla has created more space for the permanent teeth which are soon erect. Extra space often results in the creation of diastemas or spaces between adjacent teeth, usually in the interior segment of the arches. And other suggested cause for the diastemas at this stage of development is the pressure exerted from the lingual by the developing permanent interior teeth. The greater space in the arches also allows room for the entry of the first molars distal to the deciduous dentition. Mandibular first molar is normally the first permanent tooth to emerge at about age 6, thus ending the deciduous dentition stage and initiating the mixed dentition stage. These Zarifus molars follow shortly thereafter, and the four first molars are considered to the cornerstones in the development of occlusion of the permanent dentition. City stage and the role of the permanent first molars because they erect first and because of their strategic location in the arches, the relationship of the maxillary and mandibular first molars to each other has a significant influence on the occlusion of the permanent dentition. In addition, they serve as a guide for the eruption of the other permanent teeth, particularly the other molars. If any of the deciduous teeth are lost prematurely, the permanent first molar in that quadrant has a tendency to tilt or drift mesially, thus reducing the space available for the permanent canines and premolars. Any of the deciduous teeth are lost prematurely, the permanent first molar in that quadrant has a tendency to tilt or drift mesially, thus reducing the space available for the permanent canines and premolars. This condition changes the first molar's relationship with its antagonist and may result in impaction of permanent teeth or crowding and malocclusion of the permanent dental mechanism. This is a resorption and exfoliation. What is the resorption and exfoliation? Resorption shortly after the permanent first molars appear, the permanent mandibular central incisors are scheduled to erect. Before this can occur, the deciduous pedicels must be shed or exfoliated. The process by which the root of the deciduous tooth is melted away is termed resorption. Generally, resorption begins at the apex and moves toward the cervical line. Kant thought ascribes the reason for the initiation and progression of the resorption to be pressure from permanent tooth down against the deciduous tooth. The actual process is due to the osteoclastic activity. Osteoclastic activity, what is the osteoclastic activity? That is a body process of breaking down bone in order to build up to the organ. When questioned force is applied to tooth osteoclastic activity because down the bone in the jaw, allowing the tooth to move. Resorption phase normally begins at air prior to exfoliation. Thus, a period between the completion of the road for the second deciduous molars, about 3 years of age, and the initial of a resorption for some deciduous incisors before age 5 is less than 2 years. The exfoliation. Exfoliation when the root structure of the deciduous tooth is almost entirely resolved and the remaining crown becomes so loosened that it is lost. The phenomenon is known as exfoliation. Exfoliation usually occurs symmetrically with the same teeth of the right and the left sides begin lost at about the same time. Mandibility generally precedes the same extremity in exfoliation, when the exception of the second molars, where all four are lost simultaneously. The same series of events occur for all the deciduous teeth over a range of approximately 6 years. When the mixed transition period ends with the expiration of the deciduous second molar at about age 12. Incomplete resorption, occasionally root resorption is only partial and the deciduous root does not exfoliate. In this situation, the permanent tooth must erect in an abnormal position or be entirely blocked from entry. समटाइम्स ये होता है कि इनकम्प्लीट रिजॉर्प्शन होती है कि रूट रिजॉर्प्शन जो होती है वो पार्शली कंप्लीट होती है एंड द डिसीजेस जो है वो आपके फॉल नहीं होते एक्सफोलिएट नहीं होते और उस जगह परमानेंट रूट जब अरेप्ट होते हैं तो वो एब्नॉर्मल पोजीशन पर अरेप्ट हो जाते हैं और वो क्या है जो है इंटायरली जो आपका नेचुरल सीक्वेंस है उसको ब्लॉक कर देते हैं फ्रॉम इंट्री. Event which is present, it is a responsibility of the particular practitioner, responsibility of the practitioner to diagnose it and perform the customary treatment, which is extraction of the offending deciduous tooth. जब आपके परमानेंट टूथ को स्पेस नहीं मिल रहा होता अरेप्ट होने के लिए तो उस डिसीडियस चीज को जो है वो एक्सट्रैक्ट कर लेते हैं. Next is the ankylosis. What is the ankylosis? Occasionally, the root structure of the deciduous tooth becomes fused to the surrounding alveoli. When this happens, any further eruption case, the tooth becomes fixed in position and resorption cannot progress naturally. This condition is termed ankylosis and occurs most often with the deciduous molars. The presence of an ankylosed tooth precludes the proper eruption of the subcutaneous tooth, and so the ankylosed tooth must be surgically removed as soon as it is diagnosed. Starting में just first definitions थी. अब कहते हैं what is the anomalies? आपकी जो tooth anomalies क्या है? When the normal features of the teeth and their developments as background, as this final section is devoted to the etiology and description of some of the most common abnormalities of teeth and their tooth form. The term anomaly implies abnormality as opposed to the normal range in the variation of form. आपको पता होना चाहिए कि what is the anomalies. Anomalies की definition क्या है? Anomaly implies abnormality as opposed to the normal range in variation of form. In many cases, it is difficult to intelligently discuss dental anomalies without pinpointing the stage of development when the abnormality was manifest. In order to more accurately discuss the stages of development, some are different classifying scheme based on physiologic process as compared to the morphologic stages is briefly presented. This stages shows a considerable overlap in time. One is the initiation. The initial process includes the dental lamina and body stages and affects the presence or absence of tooth bulb. Second is the proliferation. Proliferation occurs during the bud, gap, and bell stages and influences the general size and proportions of the tooth. Initiation में क्या है? Dental lamina and bud stage affects the presence or absence of the tooth buds. Proliferation में क्या है? During the bud, gap, and bell stages, the general size and proportions of the tooth. That is the hysteroinflation. This process takes place from the advanced gap stage through the bell stage and essentially involves the formation of rotational enamel and dentine forming cells. Fourth is the morphoinflation. The shape and size of tooth is determined during this process, which take place during the bud, gap, and bell stages. A disturbance during malformation may influence the size and shape of tooth, but have no effect on the enamel and dentine forming process. Apposition, this process is active during the very stage through the completion of the root and involves the regular laying down of the enamel and dentine. General etiology of most dental anomalies can be ascribed to hereditary and congenital factors, other to developmental and metabolic disturbances. This stage, that is stage of development, along with the length of the effect, are important factors influencing the final form of the anomaly, as well as which teeth are affected. How it starts the abnormally. Number one is the abnormal numbers of teeth. The presence of an abnormal number of teeth, either more or less than usual, is almost always the result of some type of disturbance during initial process, dental lamina and bud stage, up to 12 minutes. This disturbance is most often hereditary in nature. इसमें क्या प्रोसेस होगा? आपके इनिशियल प्रोसेस होगा जिसमें डेंटल लेमिना एंड बर्ड स्टेज इफेक्ट होंगे ऑफ द ट्रूथ, ठीक है। जो डिस्टर्बेंसेस हैं वो क्या है? आपके हेरिडेटरी नेचर, ठीक है। आपके नंबर वन इज द एनोडोंशिया। Abnormal number of teeth में number one is the anodontia. Anodontia, although this term literally signifies a complete lack of teeth, इसमें आपके teeth completely absent होंगे। Its meaning has come to include any missing teeth, even if but one, may be a preferable term is hypodontia, which denotes a genesis of one or more teeth which are impacted are not considered to be the missing. The endodontia, जिसमें आपके teeth partially present होंगे. Total endodontia. This label implies a complete absence of teeth, but since that condition is extremely rare, with only a handful of reported cases, it has come to mean a large number of missing teeth. The etiology of total endodontia, etiology means cause. Endodontia was a six-linked genetic trait which results in an ectodermal defect, and so structures such as hair and ceviches and sweat glands are also abnormal. Except in the very rare cases mentioned, most or all of the primary teeth are present, while a lesser number of permanent teeth are found. Total anaesthesia, absent, partial anaesthesia. Generally speaking, partial amputation involves but one or a few missing teeth, and is the result of hereditary factors which preclude the initiation of the toothbursts of affected teeth. Abnormal numbers of teeth, second is the supernumerary accessory. The term supernumerary indicates an excessive number of teeth which are normal in morphological respect. These extra teeth often do not resemble any normal tooth in size or shape. Many authorities prefer to the term accessory rather than supernumerary teeth. The two terms will be used interchangeably here. Accessory teeth usually result when extra toothbursts differentiate from the dental lamina, and thus etiology is considered to be genetic. Both deciduous and permanent dentations may exhibit supernumerary teeth. Accessory teeth have been found in various positions in the dental arches, but the vast majority of the permanent dentation specimens are found in either of two locations between maxillary central incisor, called the mesodense, or in the third molar regions, distodense. आपके मिक्सेबरी इंसाइजर्स में जहाँ प्रेजेंट होगा the maxillary central incisor, supramedullary is called the mesoderm. In third molar region is called the distodense. The only other area of significant involvement is, as might be expected, the mandibular second premolar area. Abnormal size of teeth, normally an individual's teeth vary in size directly with their general face and body size. Therefore, large or small teeth, when found in this context, are not considered to be the abnormal. Furthermore, it is very rare for all of the person's teeth to the abnormal in size. Hence, this anomaly is usually limited to a single tooth or a few teeth of the same type. Condition is thought to be the result of a disturbance during morphodiffusion in the bell stage with the genetic etiology. Necrodontia. Technicism, necrodentia. In the rare case of pituitary technicism, all the teeth are abnormally large. Necro means large. Dontia means teeth. False macrodontia. More commonly, individual teeth are excessive in size, and thus those most frequently involved are incisors, canines, and mandibular third molars. Macrodontia. Dental incisors in large size. Next is a microdontia. पहले क्या था मैक्रोडोंशिया लार्ज साइज था और इसमें सेकंड इज द माइक्रोडोंशिया. Microdontia, pituitary drops may exhibit true microdontia when all teeth are abnormally small. Macro means large, micro means small. False microdontia, it is much more common to find microdontia in individual teeth, and those most frequently involved are the maxillary lateral incisor, big lateral, and the maxillary third molar. Microdontia. Abnormal shape of teeth. The presence of abnormal crown and root shapes and contours is most often the result of disturbances during the morphodiffusion and appositional stages of tooth development. Teratonism, this condition of the molars and molars of both dentitions is characterized by a crown which occupies a much greater proportion of the total tooth bulk than is normal. As meta-enamel junction shows no constriction, the furcation is found in the apical half of the tooth and the floor of the pulp chamber is likewise displaced apically. Since the size of the tooth itself is normal, the increased extent of the crown and pulp chamber occurs at the expense of the root and the pulp canals. The condition may be unilateral or bilateral. Teratonism is usually diagnosed by X-ray and is clinically significant only if root canal therapy is necessary. The etiology is hereditary, often is a conjunction with other syndromes. Typically displays furcation and short roots in mandibular premolars. Second is the dilaceration. Abnormality reveals distortion of the root and crown from their normally linear relationship. The cause is most often a traumatic injury or pressure to the area of developing tooth, resulting in a displacement of the already formed portion of the tooth. The flexion, as contrast to demonstration, flexion involves restoration of the root portion only. The etiology is normally the same for both, but occurs later in the development cycle in flexion. Many teeth exhibit curvatures and deflections of their roots, but they are not considered abnormal unless the bends are sharp. So this is hallucination, concerns, fusion, draft roots, accessory roots, hypersplentosis, and enamel part. Gemination. Gemination is thought to be caused by incomplete splitting of a single tooth gem. The result is a tooth which is white vitreously and which has an incisal notch if it is an interior tooth. Normally has a single root with a common pulp cavity. The two components of the gemination may be nearly equal in size, or one portion may be rudimentary in both size and shape when compared to the other portion. The geminated tooth is most often an incisor. The term twin is used to identify a situation where gemination has been complete, resulting in two identical tooth and thus additional tooth in the dentition. This is the gemination. Incisor, central incisor, this is the notch. This is the this anomaly is considered to be the result of a union of two adjacent tooth parts. The exact etiology is not known, but thought to be either hereditary or from pressure exerted when two tooth buds are in very close proximity. The tooth portions are always united through the enamel and dentine, and occasionally even the pulp. The fusion usually concerns only the crowns, but on occasions involves both crown and root, in which case the cementum of the root portion of the two portions is also united. Fusion is also usually found in interior teeth. सो इंटीरियर टीप में प्रेजेंट होता है जो आपके एनॉमली होगी इंटीरियर like germination, there are normally two identifiable pulp cavities. It is further differentiated from germination by an apparently greater degree of separation of the two portions. Germination, there is one less dental unit than normal in the dentition. If the fused tooth is counted as one unit. Often found in the deciduous teeth and maybe unilateral or bilateral. Because they are sometimes difficult to differentiate clinically, the term double tooth has been suggested to include eliminations, twinings, and fusions. Concerns identity involves the union of the structure of two or more teeth cementum only. The teeth involved are originally separated but joined because of excessive cementum deposition of one or both teeth. Condition is most common in the permanent molars, particularly those of the maxillary arch, and logically occurs when the roots are in close proximity. It differs from fusion because it is not a union between two tooth germs during development, and but normally occurs following eruption, and it never involves enamel and dentine. It should be obvious that concerns would be a hazard to the any extraction procedures of the teeth involved. Segmental root disease anomaly is caused by the some disturbance during root and results in two separated tooth segments. The specific etiology is thought to be a break in Herdwick sheath, temporarily halting dentinogenesis, so that if the formative process continues, the two root portions are separated. Draft roots. This condition exists when normal sized crowns have abnormally short roots. The crowns of these teeth are also abnormal in contour, exhibiting a greater incisor-cervical convexity of the labial surface. Normally, draft roots are found only in the interior teeth, most commonly the maxillary central incisors. Condition is quite often bilateral. Also thought to as a hereditary prodigy, this trait may be lost at any early age simply because of passive eruption or periodontal disease. This anomaly should not be confused with the shortened roots dental aphysis of the teeth, which they observed radiographically following orthodontic treatment and caused by excessive pressures during tooth. These conditions exist when normal size crowns have abnormally short. Crowns of these teeth are also abnormal in contour, exhibiting as a cervical convexity of the face. This condition is unilaterally or bilateral. Next is the hyperspontosis. Hyperspontosis, its name suggests this condition results in excessive cementum formation around the root of a tooth. and is most often associated with the roots of permanent molars. It normally is not associated with any stage of tooth development, but rather occurs after eruption. The etiology may involve one of several sources, including trauma, local or systemic metabolic disturbances, are most commonly chronic inflammation of the pulp. Accessory gender rules, accessory gender rules, this group constitutes the most commonly observed dental anomalies and may be attributed to hereditary or developmental causes during the malformation process. Astracals, astracals or tubercles are most often found in molars, and third molar is in particularly they also occur as an incisal extension of the cingulum in maxillary interiors. In the maxillary incisors, the occurrence is known as teloncus. The groin of the affected incisors may give the appearance of Phillips screwdriver. The etiology of teloncus is not known, but is probably hereditary, since it often occurs in conjunction with the other anomalies. Most of the extra roots are found on teeth which undergo root development after birth. And so the etiology is considered to be roots, trauma, pressure, or metabolic disease. The third molars most often exhibit three roots, but they may be found on any tooth, the mouth, although rarely in the maxillary interior teeth. Maxillary first premolars with their three roots and the malevolent teeth also found might be accepted their presence is quite a hazard in Accessory and roots missing cusp of permanent posterior are occasionally absent. Those most often missing are the most diminutive good examples of which are the lingual cusp of the mandibular first premolar, the distal lingual cusp of maxillary molars, and the distal cusp of mandibular first molars. Animal parts. Pearls, also known as enamelome or enamel drops, they are found attached to the root surfaces of teeth in the form of small spherical nodules of enamel surrounding the dentine core. Their specific site is usually in the furcation area of molars because of the root anatomy means their location is most likely to be the buccal and lingual of mandibular molars and the mesial and distal of maxillary molars. The root initiated by the appreciate the nemeloma appears as round radio-opaque mass on X-rays. They may be of clinical significance in the predisposition to severity of periodontal disease. This abnormality is about 2% incidence in the general population. Hodgkin's this anomaly is often classified with a hypoplastic defect because it is a type of enamel dysplasia, but we will consider it in this section of abnormal form. The condition is due to prenatal syphilis. Specifically, its etiology involves the disturbance of calcification by the trachonoma organism during the plastic morphodepositions. Since the incisors and first molars are the only permanent teeth at this stage of development that they exhibit the effects. Koshki. Diameter are not normally involved. The incisor bronze is a bit triangular shape, usually with a deep notch on the incisor edge. The first molars have a molary appearance with inner enamel and a poorly developed crust. The dental significance is primarily aesthetic. Tense indentation. This condition occurs when the enamel organ becomes invaginated in a specific area on the crown of the tooth, and the normally external structures of enamel and dentine become reversed inside the pulp cavity. This creates an X-ray appearance of a small tooth within a tooth. The name dense dentine. It is rare in the posterior teeth and it is most commonly found in the permanent. It is rare in the posterior teeth and is most commonly found in the permanent incisor. In these teeth, the invagination leaves artifact in the lingual surface in the form of an opening lingual pit, which leads to an enamel and dentine enclosed pulp cavity. As a result, it easily becomes caries and may cause pain. Normally, the condition is evident in radiographs. Odontoma. Odontoma introduction and it is included in this section for odontoma is a growth of calcified dental tissues involving structures of both ectodermal enamel and the mesodermal dentine, cementum, and pulp origin. There are two basic types, both of which evidently result from developmental disturbances of the dental lamina, the follicle by trauma or infection. This growth consists of one mass of calcified dental tissues and may be attached to the normal tooth or located separately in the alveolar bone. It does not exhibit any definite dental form. Compound odontoma, this type of odontoma just consists of the calcified tissue of tooth but is composed of complex type. These tissues are arranged in the shape of recognizable tooth form. There may be one or more of these tooth forms, sometimes with almost perfect similarity of normal tooth, and sometimes resembling more rudimentary dental forms. Normal calcification and apposition. This group of anomalies is a result of disturbances which affect enamel and dentine formation during the histodifferentiation and appositional process. The resultant condition is depend on the severity of the disturbance, the stage of matrix or calcification affected, as well as the length of the disturbance. Enamel dysplasia. Enamel dysplasia is a level and encompasses all enamel development abnormalities. The etiologic agents may be local, systemic, or hereditary in nature. Clinically, enamel dysplasias are characterized by bands, ridges, or pitted areas of discolored enamel. The size of the affected areas is directly related to the length and the severity of the etiology disturbance. Only teeth undergoing enamel formation at the time of the disturbance are affected. The two general types of enamel dysplasia include enamel dysplasia, hypoplasia. Enamel hypoplasia, this type of enamel dysplasia occurs when the disturbance in development occurs during enamel matrix formation. Hypocalcification, the time of disturbance in hypocalcification is later than for hypoplasia and occurs during enamel matrix maturation. Amyloidosis is imperfect. This type of enamel dysplasia as an hereditary cause. The defect may range from an almost complete absence of enamel to enamel that was deposited but failed to fully mature, depending on the stage at which the disturbances occur. The crowns of teeth with this abnormality are suggested to rampant caries as well as excessive agitation. Rampant caries जो बच्चे बॉटल फीडिंग करते हैं उनकी मौजूद होती है ठीक है for this reason these teeth are rarely seen as late as adult life. There are also an aesthetic consideration since the crowns exhibit a surface roughness. Dental fluorosis या mutated enamel, the intake of excessive high levels of fluoride during the enamel calcification period responsible for this type of enamel dysplasia. Considered to be a hypocalcification problem since sufficient enamel matrix is normally present. Clinical appearance originally reveals chalky white bands or areas they usually become pigmented in a brown or a yellow fission. Because of the etiology, these teeth are usually quite resistant to caries, which is in contrast to the other forms of enamel dysplasia. There may be a severe aesthetic detriment to the patient. Focal hypertension descendants of other enamel dysplasias clinically appears as a chalky white and opaque area. This is clearly defined, usually in a circular shape on the facial surface. The enamel is particularly susceptible to caries. It is normally true. It is found in the interior teeth. It is an aesthetic consideration also. Any question? डेंटल फ्लोरोसिस के लिए आप पेशेंट को जो है आप डिफरेंट आप इसकी ट्रीटमेंट करते हो उसमें आप क्राउन भी कर देते हो क्योंकि डेंटल फ्लोरोसिस की वजह से आपके जो टीथ होते हैं वो डिसकलरेशन होते हैं तो उसकी जो ट्रीटमेंट करेंगे उसमें आप उसको जो है क्राउन उसके आप लगा देते हैं ताकि उसकी वो जो एस्थेटिक प्रॉब्लम है वो दूर हो जाए ओके एनी क्वेश्चन सब समझ आते हैं आपको ओके थैंक यू अल्लाह हाफिज़